Welcome to the Daily Review. This is Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading. And today is May 2nd, 2024, and today is Thursday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, the U.S. market's volatile after the Fed makes its announcement keeping interest rates where they are. Now, there's no major economic events scheduled for today. However, big corporate earning results for Apple and Amgen after the markets close in the U.S. later today. Now, looking at today's market, starting out with the Forex symbols, the major pairs recovering versus the US dollar as they bounce back. As we look at the indices, the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ go for a wild ride with a tremendous fade opportunity. Now, looking at commodities, gold bounces while oil breaking that $80 a barrel below it. Now, looking at the stocks, they're all mixed. And looking at cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin sells even lower. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So here we go. First with the Euro USD. Decent bounce on the upside, going from 106.50-ish level to 107.20-ish. Not a huge bounce, but decent enough for one day's trading. And that's about 70 pips on the recovery for the euro. Okay, that's one of the major pairs that recovered yesterday. If we jump into the GBP USD, not as much. Okay, this is what is very telling sign with the British pound. It's changing character. It's been the weakest one. Now, if we jump into the Japanese yen, this is very interesting because yesterday we had a very volatile ride for the Japanese yen. It's been really challenged with these new lows, but couldn't sustain it, made a correction on the downside, got a little bit stronger versus US dollar, and then made a correction on the upside. We're at 155, which is all-time record lows for before. Okay, so this is really decent to be around this area, and we're bouncing around. You can see just the huge bars on the chart. I mean, those are dailies, and they're trading in a huge range. Okay, so tremendous opportunity for the Japanese yen. Now, jumping into commodities, gold recovering here to 2,300 after dipping below 2,300 to 2,290. Not a big deal, but a small bounce nevertheless. However, crude oil was not as lucky, dipping below $80 a barrel. Now, we were below our 200-day moving average on a daily. If we jump into a weekly, we're still just trading sideways, okay? We're still in a very relatively tight range, okay, for what oil is and what oil represents. Okay, so we did cross over and we're looking to be on the 30-day moving average if we look at a weekly. So that's an important support there. Now, jumping into the US markets, we had a roller coaster of a ride yesterday. Let's take a look at a 30-minute chart. You could see that. Now, initially, after the news yesterday, after the Fed came out with the news, we initially sold off, right? This was the day before, okay, which was on Tuesday. We had a tremendous sell-off going into that week. Okay, from the beginning of the week, we sold off, and then we kind of recovered towards the beginning of the morning. Okay, we recovered, I mean bounced, okay, and then we just spiked up when the Fed came out with their interest rate decision where they're going to keep it, and then we had that fade opportunity where we corrected ourselves on the downside. Now we're just settling at 38,200, okay, where we're at. Now, if we jump into a 4-hour chart, okay, you could see that we're way off, okay, over 1,500 points off of our all-time highs, okay, at least, or close to 2,000 points over our all-time highs on the Dow Jones, okay, so there's been a correction there, and you could see that, you know, on a daily chart, you could see that the RSI is making lower highs. Now, over here, it's challenged it, okay? It's pausing it right now. So we may see a correctional move somewhere to the 39,000-ish level, okay? That could still happen, okay? And somewhere in the mid-39,000 level, maybe 39,200, somewhere around there, okay, as that makes a recovery. Now, jumping into the NASDAQ, same story. We had a really big fade opportunity, okay? Now, we are bouncing just a little bit, but all eyes are on Apple today, okay? If we look at Microsoft, didn't fare so well as that continues to struggle with itself, okay, at below $400 a share. If we look at Facebook, after that gap down, did not close that gap yet, okay? So we're having some issues there. Big bellwether having some issues is CISCO. CISCO on its lows here, and just not recovering here either. Okay, so you know they're giving you pockets of information here, and we have to draw a complete picture. Now looking at Amazon, also challenge on the upside, although it did trade upwards yesterday. Okay, altogether it was actually up, even though it looks like a red bar, but nevertheless it's challenged with its highs. Okay, when stocks go and continuously make highs and then they, you know, kind of stall at the top and don't break out higher, they're going to make a correction on the downside, and that's just the reality of it. Okay, now lastly, looking at Bitcoin. Bitcoin dipping even lower to 57,000. Now this is supportish area, okay, previous supportish area, so I would imagine that it would bounce. But remember, we may have this V formation that looks like it's forming. Okay, it's not as aggressive on the downside. You can see that it's, you know, it's still holding itself up, but let's see what happens in the next couple of days. It's still a tremendous trade, lots of action there. So if you do day trade it, tremendous opportunity there as well. This is Fed Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.